Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Puraman Suparivrajakacarya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Premanande.
Hare Hare Bo. Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you, dear devotees. And thank you, Kendra Prabhu, for a wonderful kirtan. So we'll be continuing our second Canto series, interactive lecture series by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, broadcasting live from ISKCON of New Jersey in Towaco. I've just pasted the verses, Canto 2, Chapter 4, verse number 9, so you can follow along. And as always, feel free to participate and bring your questions and comments. And you can use the raise hand feature, or you can use the chat box. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madam Gopal Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchate Satarane Vanshakolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all for coming. Obeisances to all, especially to Purushottam Prabhu, Leelakar Prabhu, to Kahantri Mataji, any other God brothers or God sisters that I've missed out. Thanks to all the devotees. Text 9. Yata gunams tu prakriter yugapat kramasho piva pibharti bhurishas tveka kurvan karmani janmabhi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. And then, really, it seems to me, from looking at the manuscript, that this is to be read as a question. Does he alone act with the modes of material nature, or simultaneously expand in many forms, or expand consecutively to direct the modes of nature? Beginning this series of questions, Parikshit Maharaj had asked to know, how the personality of Godhead creates the universe, the universes, plural, how he engages in creation through his direct expansions or through his empowered agents like Brahma and Marichi. That is how he performs sarga, or the initial creation of the material elements, or whether he and how he performs the visarga, or the sub-creation. So these are all questions that Parikshit Maharaj has asked. So for those who are interested in and Krishna does it all in the sporting spirit of a player, that's in text 7. And how he does things is really inconceivable. Even great sages can't understand things fully, how the Lord acts. The manuscript actually says the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, period. Whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature, or simultaneously expands in many forms, or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. There's no question mark there, but my guess is that there should be, because that's a typical way that Prabhupada phrased questions, whether he's done this or whether he's done that. Uses whether as an interrogative. And in any case, this is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reads the verse, as a question. He's one, yata gunams tu prakriteri yugapat kramasho piva. But although he's eka, vibharti bhurishas tu eka, does he expand in many forms simultaneously, or does he act alone, or does he expand himself consecutively, one form after another? This is how he's framed things. And my reading of the manuscript is actually that Prabhupada framed it the same way. He just left the question mark out. Which the BBT editors will have to decide what they think about that, but that's my reading. Vichikitsitam etan me pravitu bhagavan yata shabde brahmani nishnata parasmims cha bhavan kalu. Vichikitsitam. These are, I have doubts about these matters. Vichikitsitam etam me. So bravitu bhagavan yata. You please clear these things up. Bhagavan yata, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is to say, that you're as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. You're also a great devotee of the Lord and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. We know that doesn't mean that he's God, but the Kintu Prabhuya Priya Evatasya. He's considered Sakshat Hari, as good as the Lord, because of being a confidential servant of the Lord. Therefore, Bhagavan Yata, you're as good as the personality of Godhead. Shabde Brahmani Nishnata, you're expert in understanding, as Prabhupada puts it in the word-for-word meaning, sound transcendental, the transcendental message of the Vedic literature. Nishnata, you've realized it fully. Prasmai cha bhavan kalu, and you're realized in transcendence. The same thing we find, what is that? Samit Pani Shrotriam Brahmanishtam. What is that? Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Parejanishnatam Brahmani Sumupamashreya. Everywhere the same point is made, that these are the two qualifications of the bona fide spiritual master. Shabde Parejanishnatam Brahmani Sumupam. One is that he's understood the literature. He has gyan, transcendental knowledge of Krishna Tattva. He knows the science, as Prabhupada would sometimes say. But knowing the science also implies realization, vigyan, that in Hindi we find that vigyan is the word for science. So scientific knowledge, Prabhupada uses that term to mean realized knowledge. It's not just theoretical, but because you're a great devotee of the Lord, you've understood the Lord. You've understood the Lord has revealed himself. He's made himself available to you because of your Krishna consciousness. Shabde Parejanishnatam Brahmani Samupamashreya. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttam. Yes. So now, actually, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada really addresses, in the beginning, text 9, because the Parikshit Maharaj is asking about Krishna and is he acting through expansions all at once or expansions one after another? He's asked similar questions earlier. How does he act through his different energies and expansions in Sarga and Visarga? So in the purport to the first, in the first paragraph of the purport, the Brahma Samhita said, the Supreme Absolute Truth, Govinda, the personality of Godhead, though one without a second, is infallibly expanded. Advaitam Achyutam, infallibly expanded. Advaitam Achyutam Anantam, Anantarupam. He's expanded in innumerable forms. Yes. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim, Anantarupam. Adyam Purana Purusham, he's the original person, but Navayovanamcha. He's ever young with permanent youthful energy. We have temporary youthful energy. A young man, 15, 18, 20, has lots of youthful energy, but it's not permanent. It lasts for some time and then it's gone. It gradually becomes compromised youthful energy, then no youthful energy, and finally no energy at all when one's dead. So, but Krishna has permanent youthful energy. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakta. He's difficult to know simply by learning the transcendental science of the Vedas. Just book knowledge is not enough. But Atma Bhakto, he's very easily realized by his pure devotees. So that's the qualification of Shukadev Goswami. He knows the literature, he knows the tattva, but he knows it in depth because it's realized knowledge bestowed upon a pure devotee. by the Lord himself. Then the expansions of different forms of the Lord, as from Krishna to Baldev to Sankarshan, from Sankarshan to Vasudev, Vasudev to Aniruddha, Aniruddha to Pradyumna, second Sankarshan, Narayan, Purusha avatars, innumerable other forms, which are compared to constant flowing of the uncountable waves of a river in the first canto, are all one and the same. They're like lamps of equal power which kindle from one lamp to another. Departure eva hidashantanam abhyupecha, dipayate, vivritahetu samanatar. Yastadrigavam icha vishnu taya vipati. Govindamadi purusham utamaham bhaja. That's the transcendental potency of the Lord. Then the Vedas, that is the Ishopanishad, says, he's so complete that even though the whole complete identity, that is everything, emanates from him, he still remains the same complete whole. Purnasya purnamadaya purnameva avashishyate. So there's no validity in a material conception of the Lord produced by the mental speculator. So many ideas. He remains always a mystery for the mundane scholar, even if the scholar is vastly learned in the Vedic literatures. Vedeshu durlavam adurlavam atmabhakto. Therefore, the Lord is beyond the limit of conception for mundane learned scholars, philosophers, or scientists. And we find that there's so many departments of knowledge in great universities with incredible scholars who are so learned in Sanskrit, in so many disciplines related to understanding the Vedic culture, but still they're compared to a person licking a bottle of honey. He can't get in and can't actually taste it. And we see that actually sometimes these days, especially in the early days of Prabhupada's movement, the scholars of Indology were mostly studying Vedanta and studying basically Mayavad. But in the more recent years, there's been a whole crop of scholars studying Vaishnavism. Back in the day, it was really just Joe O'Connell and who was that at Franklin and Marshall? His name escapes me for the moment. Very nice scholar. That was it. There was hardly anyone else interested in Vaishnavism, what to speak of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But now there are many. Apart from devotee scholars themselves, there are also non-devotee scholars, and they get a kind of bliss or a kind of taste from talking about Krishna, from reciting Krishna's pastimes and so on. But it never becomes quite, yes, Tom Hopkins, thank you, Gurudas, Franklin Marshall. But it never congeals, it never, or it generally doesn't. There have been exceptions where scholars have said, well, I'm convinced, and they've become actually Vaishnavas. But they're attracted, even though they're not quite admitted to the fold of Vaishnavism because they don't take up the methods of surrender. Still, they're so attracted. But despite such attraction, one can't properly understand Krishna without becoming a devotee. One cannot have any clear conception of the Lord or his holy name, form, attributes, pastimes, etc., unless one is engaged in his transcendental loving service. So it's such a blessing to have the opportunity to do that, to be engaged in transcendental loving service. Because Atma Bhakto, by devotional service, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, Yavanyas Chasmi Tattvata. One can actually understand Krishna as he is only by devotional service. Tato Mam Tattvato Gyatva Vishate Tadanantanam. And one can actually enter into the spiritual world. By scholarship, you can enter into a postgraduate degree program, but by simple devotional service, one can enter into the eternal world of Krishna. The statement of the Bhagavad Gita that one must first surrender to the Lord, being freed from all other engagements, means one must become a pure, unconditional devotee of the Lord. Only then can one know him by the strength of devotional service. So again, this is the crucial qualification. Maharaj Parikshit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. Why then should he again request Sukadeva Goswami to clarify his insufficient knowledge about the Lord? The reason is clear. And actually, when you read this paragraph, the reason is not stated. Prabhupada goes on to state the qualifications of Shukadeva Goswami as a pure devotee of the Lord, but he doesn't actually address the question that he's raised. Why is it that Parikshit asked, since it seems that he already had some knowledge, and because the Lord is inconceivable, then why ask? But it's clear from the purport and from the context that Parikshit Maharaj wanted to hear more. He'd heard something, but for his own benefit and for our benefit, he wanted a further description, and he was confident that Sukadeva Goswami was qualified to speak on this topic because he was a great self-realized soul. Apart from being vastly learned in Vedic literature, a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. And by the grace of the Lord, a powerful devotee is more than the Lord himself. And Prabhupada gives the example of Hanuman, who was able to bridge the Indian Ocean, which it seemed Ram himself couldn't do. So the Lord is so merciful upon his pure devotee that he presents his beloved devotee as more powerful than himself. And then the Lord expressed himself as being unable to save Durvasa Muni, but the Muni was saved by Ambarish Maharaj. Therefore, not only is a devotee of the Lord more powerful than the Lord, but worship of the devotee is considered more effective than direct worship of the Lord. Mad bhakta puja bhyadika. Yes, the worshiping the devotee is better than worshiping the Lord. Therefore, Prabhupada concludes that a serious devotee must first approach a spiritual master who's not only well-versed in the Vedic literature, but is also a great devotee of the Lord, with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. Without the help of such a devotee, spiritual master, one cannot make progress in the transcendental science of the Lord. And then a crucial point for this purport bona fide spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami does not speak about the Lord only in the matter of his internal potencies, but also explains how he associates with his external potencies. We know that there are Bhagavad reciters, many, who speak exclusively about the Lord's internal business, his relationship with the gopis, especially, or his other activities in Vrindavan, or sometimes Dwarka or Mathura. They speak Krishna Lila. But this is also Krishna Lila. It's not that Krishna Lila begins in Canto 10. Here, Parikshit Maharaj wants to hear Krishna Lila. But what Krishna Lila does he want to hear about? He wants to hear about the Lord's Lila in relation to his external potencies. This is also Krishna Lila. How does the Lord manipulate his external energy? How does the Lord work in the process of creating and maintaining and destroying the various universes? How does the Lord do that? This also is Krishna Lila. And the bona fide spiritual master doesn't only speak about the internal activities of Vrindavan, he's eager to speak about these activities also. The Lord's pastimes in the internal potency are displayed in his activities in Vrindavan, but his external potential works, that is, the external activities he performs by his potencies, are directed in his features of Karnarnavashayi Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Kshiradakshay Vishnu. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti offers his good counsel to the interested Vaishnavas when he says that they should not be interested in hearing only about the Lord's activities like Ras Leela, but must be keenly interested in his pastimes, in his features of the Purusha avatars, in connection with Shrishti Tattva, creational functions. Shrishti, Sthiti, Pralaya Sadhana, Shaktireka. Shrishti means creation. Following the examples of Maharaj Parikshit, the ideal disciple, and Shukadeva Goswami, the ideal spiritual master. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one should not sneer at these sort of questions concerning the material energy and how the Lord works with it. These are essential questions, and therefore Parikshit Maharaj, despite the short time at his disposal, despite being on the verge of death, is asking with keen interest about how the Lord works with his external energies. Now we have a question from Vijay Krishna Prabhu concerning 2410 purport. He is very easily realized by his pure devotees. That's stated. I've been struggling with the connection between the supreme self-sufficiency and Krishna accepting pure devotion from his devotees. Some atheists say that a god surrounded by angels in the sky and goddesses of fortune in Vrindavan is no better than some kind of another dependent being. If God does exist, they say, then we would find him meditating in a completely inaccessible place with no association other than himself, the supremely independent one. And of course, a God who isolates himself this way is as good as hot bread without butter, the tasteless God. My question is, what kind of self-sufficiency is the self-sufficiency exhibited by Lord Krishna? Well, this can be answered in different ways. First of all, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find there's nothing other than Krishna. Vasudeva, Krishna is everything. Or you can say Krishna and Krishna's energies are everything. Krishna's energies are also not outside Krishna. So Krishna has internal energy, external energy, marginal energy. So Krishna, he's alone. But he's alone with his energies. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shriyuta, and his energies are innumerable. We, by comparison, we want to enjoy. So we call up our girlfriend, hi, how are you doing? What's the news? You free? You blah, 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 blah. Because alone, we're not going to enjoy. So we call up our girlfriend, or we call our friends or somebody, so that we can enjoy. Just like now, pandemic, people are feeling they're crimped because they're stuck inside somewhere and they can't enjoy with their friends and lovers and all of that. Their self-sufficiency level is quite low. Even to eat, they require to either go out to the grocery market or to have Amazon deliver. They can't produce food on their own. There's no question of what to speak of happiness, even survival on their own. But Krishna, when he wants to enjoy, he expands himself. The Radha Krishna activities are the activities of Krishna expanding himself through by his energy. And when Krishna's enjoying in the rasa dance, or when Krishna's enjoying his Vrindavan activities, he's enjoying with the expansions of his own energy. So he's self-sufficient because he's everything. He doesn't need anything outside. That's what self-sufficient means, that you don't need to go outside yourself for your needs. Even, we talk about self-sufficiency in terms of farming and all of that. Self-sufficient community. It means you don't have to go outside. You have everything on your own property. So Krishna is completely self-sufficient. He doesn't have to go outside of his own self. Whatever he wants is there within his own potency. So that's one meaning of self-sufficient. Another is that he accepts service from his devotees, not because of need. Swarat, he's the same thing, independent. But then why does he accept the service? Not because he's in need, but out of love. Prabhupada said Krishna doesn't need your rice, dal, and chapatis. But he says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayashchati ashnami. If you offer me rice, dal, chapatis with love and devotion, I accept it. I accept even a little water, even a leaf. Bhaktya, when it's offered with love. That means that Krishna is not accepting because he's in need. He's accepting because he reciprocates the love of his devotees. Prabhupada gives the example that a father is sitting with the family at the dinner table, and the little son says, "Oh, Daddy, would you like a piece of this cake? It's so good." And the father says, "Oh, is it good?" And he takes a little, maybe the son feeds him, or in any case, he takes it from the boy. So, what's a little piece of cake for a grown man? It's not a big deal. And the father is certainly not in need of a little piece of cake. But because the son is offering with love, oh, is it good? Let me try. So that's love. It's not need. The Lord doesn't need the service of the devotee. He can do everything. He can do everything on his own. But he accepts, just like what is that? In the 11th chapter, the Maya Hatams Tvam, what is that? Maya Hatams, Maya Hatams Tvam, I've forgotten. The Krishna says, I've already killed everybody here. Find Maya Hatams Tvam, 11. I've already killed everybody here. But nimitta matram bhavasavyasachi. You can take the opportunity to assist me. Krishna enjoys giving the credit to the devotee. So you fight and take the credit, but I've already killed everyone. That means he doesn't need Arjuna to kill all of these enemies. He's already done it himself in the background, as it were. But he wants to give Arjuna the credit. Yes, you render me this service and become glorious. Thank you. There it is. Tasmat tvam utishta yashola bhashva. Maya vaite niyata purvameva. Yeah, that's that verse, but there's another one. Maya hatam tvam. You're not finding it? Let's see. Let's see.
About 34.
Yeah, that's the next verse. Maya hatam tvam jahima vyatishta yudyashva jetasi rene sapatna. It's the next verse. They both say the same thing. Basically, they go together. I've already killed them. Maya hatams. They're already killed by me. Tvam jahi. You just fight and win. Mahavyatishta. Yudyashva, just fight. Jetasi Rene Sapatnan, and you'll win. So the Lord doesn't need Arjuna, but he gives Arjuna the opportunity to become the hero of Kurukshetra. The Lord is sufficient, self-sufficient, but he enjoys giving these opportunities for service to his devotees and reciprocating with them.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we've got a couple more questions here, or one more question here. Tina, if Krishna does not need, as he is self-sufficient, then why did he create us, the many Atmas, who are part and parcel of him, for loving relationships? He could just keep expanding himself for his own pleasure. That is what he does. He expands himself for his own pleasure. We're also not outside of Krishna. We're not separate entities with independent lives of our own who somehow have to be coaxed into a relationship with Krishna, the way we try to coax someone into a relationship for our own enjoyment. The living entities are expansions of Krishna. Yes, he could just keep expanding himself. Why does he create the Atmas? No, this is expanding himself. He expands himself in different ways. He expands himself as Vishnu Tattva. So we were hearing Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, and so on. So many Vishnu expansions. Then the living entities, they're also expansions of Krishna. They're also expansions of Krishna. So, and of course, you put create in quotes because he doesn't create us. We're simply Krishna's expansions, as the sunlight is an expansion of the sun. So when there are loving relationships between the Lord and the living entities, it's really Krishna in relationship with his own expansions. Therefore, Prabhupada answered the materialists who say that Krishna is immoral because he was dancing with other men's wives. Those other men's wives, supposed wives of others, are really expansions of Krishna. So Krishna has every right to dance with them. This is Krishna. Okay. But why even create us who lie in the Tatastha? No need, his energies, to have the potential to deviate. That first of all, there's no creation. You know that by your quote marks. But this is completeness. Purnasya Purnam Adaya. The Ada Purnamidam. Complete means not just that he expands himself as the Vishnu Tattva, but he expands himself as Shakti Tattva, his energies, including the marginal living entity. That's part of Krishna's completeness. He expands in so many different ways. That's Krishna's business. And from one, I've heard someplace, because we have the potential to deviate, as you mentioned, it's more glorious and tasty when the living entity voluntarily surrenders. Because we have that freedom, because we're not just automata or servants who have no choice but to serve. Because we have that freedom, there's a special taste when we surrender to Krishna. Tulsi Priya, isn't it also the case that the expansions are unlimited? If you're going to expand, why put a number on it? Yes, there's unlimited expansions in each category. The Vishnu Tattva expansions are limitless, like the waves in the ocean, as the first canto says. Then the living entities are also unlimited. The expansions of the Antaranga Shakti, internal potency in the spiritual world, they're unlimited. Even the material energy is practically unlimited from limitless universes. Oh, Krishna is unlimited, and the expansions of Krishna are unlimited. Even the manus, what is that? There's 14 manus in a day of Brahma, and so there's and there's so many days and so many years of Brahma that make up the Brahma's life. So there's you do the calculation. Prabhupada someplace does the arithmetic and tells you how many manus there are during Brahma's life, and it's a big number. But then that's only one universe. There are limitless universes and therefore unlimited numbers of manus. Now that's just one category of Krishna's expansions, manu. There's a living being who takes the post of manu, and he's empowered by Krishna. And they're considered, sometimes Prabhupada categorizes them as incarnations, or elsewhere there's an incarnation for each manu. But how many incarnations are there? You can't even count. Just the manus. Just the manus are uncountable. And then there's so many other forms. In the 10th chapter, they Atava Bahunai Tena Kim Gatena Tavarja. In this chapter, I've described to you my vibhutis, but Krishna pradhanyata kuru shreshta, nastyanto vistarasya. You want me to tell you about my vibhutis? Please explain in detail about your vibhutis. Hantate katiyashyami. Yes, I'll speak to you about my vibhutis. Hantate katiyashyami yatma vibhutaya. I'll speak about my own vibhuti potencies. But pradhanyata kuru shreshta. I'm only going to give you the headlines. I'm only going to speak about the main ones. Nasti, na asti, anta, vistarasya. Vistar means expansion, or in the sense of spread. There's no anta, there's no end to how far my vibhutis spread, how many there are. Nastyanta vistarasya. That's just the vibhuti energies. We're trying to calculate some other category or this or that. Just take the vibhutis. Among this, I'm this. Among this, I'm this. I'm this. I'm this. I'm this. Whole 10th chapter. Then, all right, let's do a summary. What is that? Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam srimad urjitam evava tattadeva vagachatvam mamatejam sa sambhava. Whatever there is that's beautiful or powerful, it just comes from a spark of my energy. Vistabhyaham idam kritsnam ekangshena stitojaga. What more shall I tell you? With one partial expansion of myself, I maintain this whole material world. Eka angshena. By one angsha, by one portion of a portion, I manifest this whole cosmic manifestation. So this is Krishna. His expansions are unlimited in every category. Vibhutis are unlimited. His Vishnu expansions are unlimited. The living entities, unlimited. Everything, unlimited. And no one can even calculate. The Brahmas, there's limitless numbers of Brahmas. On and on it goes. Any other questions here?
Maharaj?
Sir?
If I may, we find in Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is chanting to Arjuna, go to a spiritual master for you to get the truth, and you will see, and he will tell you that the truth is as follows. Everything that exists is my property. So Maharaj, I'm having difficulty with the following. If Krishna is everything and everything is Krishna, in terms of Krishna enjoying, I'm speaking about the enjoyment of Lord Krishna while he's expanding himself. And if these expansions are not different from himself, isn't that this enjoyment becomes tedious? Because everywhere he looks...
Becomes what?
Tedious.
Devious? Why devious?
No, tedious.
Tedious. No, why tedious?
Because Maharaj, everywhere Krishna is looking, he sees himself.
But wherever he goes, but what greater thing can you see than could he see than himself? If you read in the description of autumn, the description is there someplace that Krishna was in the autumn. The rainy season comes after the autumn, and the clouds pour forth water from the sky, and there's all this greenery and the whole scene. And Krishna's sitting in the caves of the cowherd boys, and he's observing the scene out there, and hey, pretty good. He's appreciating. He's appreciating the seasonal, what would you say, the beauty, the yes, the beauty of the season. And what is he appreciating? His own energy. Or Radha Krishna. Krishna is unlimitedly enchanted by Srimati Radharani. Who is she? His energy. Does that mean it becomes tedious? No way. Even appreciated more. Like you cook. Prabhupada said one time that whatever you cook yourself, you'll like. You know, other people's cooking you may or may not like, but when you cook yourself, you'll like it. So Krishna's cooked up everything. It's all the expansion of his energy. So he appreciates, you know, he doesn't have a problem of what is it? Low self-esteem. He's glorious, and he appreciates his own glories. That doesn't make him puffed up. He's entitled to appreciate. He's entitled to be proud, even if he wants to be, because he's expanded such glories. He's expanded such glorious expansions. So not at all tedious. It's unlimitedly joyful. What is that? There's some, well, Anandamaya Vyasat, the Lord is joyful, and therefore the expansion of his energy is joyful. That's the nature of the absolute truth. If we expand something, it's sort of like an expansion of our envy, an expansion of our frustration, an expansion of our warped mentality. You know, we create all sorts of weird and sort of tamasic things. But when Krishna expands himself, he's the absolute truth. Everything he expands is also absolute. It's also truthful. Even the material world. Therefore, Prabhupada so strongly criticized those who, Jagan Mithya, who say that the world is false. Why false? It's glorious. It's because it's created by Krishna. It may not be what we think it is. It's not our playground, but it's not false. It's wonderful because Krishna has created it. Those who you know, oh, so everything is false. Prabhupada said they're prosaic. They're dull. They don't know how to appreciate. So this is exactly where Parikshit Maharaj is putting us. First, appreciate the cosmic manifestation, not as something to exploit, but as something expanded by the Lord in his various features, in his various forms. Before we go on to the internal energy, which is still more relishable, how wonderful is the expansion of Krishna's material energy? Just check that out, first of all. Appreciate how wonderful it is, how wonderfully Krishna expands everything. And don't fail to do that. Don't think, no, that's it's just the srishti, bad. It's for the kids, for the neophytes. But the Prabhupada himself would enjoy, become exceedingly enthusiastic to talk about how Krishna is running the cosmic manifestation. That's the mentality of a pure devotee, and Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva are the example. It's not that this is tedious, to hear about material world and Mahavishnu and Karnadakshay Vishnu, Kshirodakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay. We don't want to hear about that. Let's get on to the good stuff. No, this is a topic of keen interest for them. A topic of keen interest. It's not a topic of keen interest for the professional reciters, but for those who are truly engaged in Krishna's service, these are relishable topics also. Not that the second canto, second canto, cosmic manifestation, No, this is relishable.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we're at stopping time. So thank you all very much. And we hand things back over to Madan Gopal Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, and thank you very much, dear devotees, for participating in this as we continue through the second canto. As always, I'll make our quick announcements real quick. And I'll just see. We are now almost done with some of these weekly events. Yeah, Tukantri Mataji says this hour goes by entirely too fast. It moves very, very quickly. Time flies when you're really getting absorbed. And Athena says, thank you so much for informative, nourishing, and relishing as always. Thank you. So if you're not aware of this Vanaprastha adventure, this is on Thursdays, 7 to 8 p.m. So Maharaj is leading us on the discussion on this idea of practical Vanaprastha in ISKCON and today's time. So that link is different from this particular Zoom, so you can find that link in Maharaj's website, jswami.info. So this is for the Thursday Vanaprastha adventure. The link is under the About section, Maharaj's website. Then Pathways to Perfection. This is a series every Saturday morning. So tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. We'll continue this exploration of the 9 processes of devotion. Tomorrow is Vishnu Smarana by Radhadasi. Be sure to join that. 4 Sundays of personal finance planning almost over. Now the last session will be October 4th. And Vamshidhari Gopal Prabhu is compiling a set of extra tips and tricks and different guidelines on how to improve our savings and focus more on Krishna. And we may be able to offer a 5th session of this just for whatever is remaining from the sessions. So 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Sunday. So please be sure to join us this Sunday. And then, as always, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have the second canto by Jayadvaita Maharaj. And then this Sunday evening, we have Adi Gadadhar Prabhu, who's going to be speaking on the sweet pastime of Gopi Gita. So please be sure to join for this Sunday. And then we'll have a whole new set of speakers next week with the regular Monday, Wednesday, Friday second canto. And then we'll have some different speakers. So thank you once again for joining. And feel free to unmute yourself. We'll leave this line open for just a few more seconds so we can all collectively thank Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavat.
Thank you,
Hare Bol.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Maharaj.
So
Dandavat
sweet.
Pranam.
Wonderful, Colleen.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam.
Dazzling. Amazing.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Radhe Radhe. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Sweeter than sugar candy.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.